God, I love a four-wheel drive. Hey, got a great show for you this week, so stay tuned. This is Adirondack Journey.
Hey Mike,
Hey,
how are you?
how are you?
Good to see you.
God, it's great to see you. Thanks for getting all dressed up.
I know.
I don't want people to think that you naturally wear this, all,
No.
when you walk around, because.
Well, I was waiting for you. I figured, well, I'll just stand here and twiddle my
Well,
thumbs.
you know what? You're always a man that you cannot relax, Al. I noticed that about you through the couple of years that I've known you. But what are you doing now?
Well, we're working on poles, and this is how we do the poles. I put them about waist high to save my back, and it's a tripod, 2 tripods, and these are the tripods just the same way you put the teepee up. And I've got a heavy pole, any kind of tree, to hold it in place because it'll move. And the knife is really sharp, so you don't want any accidents. So we go down the pole, and we're taking the bark off. Because the pole has to be as smooth as it can. If it's got the bark on, it'll drip water all over the teepee.
Oh, okay.
So you want to take it down. The hard part is the knots. But you just work the knots down, and you turn it. Just keep doing it.
Al, how many hours, as far as from Minga doing the canvas to you doing the poles, how many hours you put per teepee, would you say?
To make a teepee complete, it takes about 2 weeks, Mike.
2 weeks.
I would say about that.
Yeah.
It takes about a week to make a set of poles and about a week to make a teepee,
Now, you don't get the poles around here.
No, we have to go up pretty far north. We have to get permission to go into people's land, and we do. We just don't go and cut poles.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
So and you go up, the further north you go, the more pine. And it's natural stands, not man-planted. So the trees are really tight. They're so tight that when you cut them, they don't fall down. You got to actually pull them down out of the canopy.
Wow.
So by us taking poles out of stands like that, you're helping the forest because those trees are going to die. They just can't get the light. They're thin like this and tall because they're all fighting each other to get to the sun. So they're going to die. So by us taking a pole here and there, we're very selective, then you've opened the forest a little bit and let the sun come in so the other trees have a better chance of living. So
Everything just, I don't know. We've been so wrong.
But it makes you feel good.
It makes you feel great.
I'm not hurting the forest. I'm helping in a little way, and I'm helping myself, and so that's really how you have to be. You don't just gimme, me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Let's go look at the teepee.
Sure.
I gotta go inside. I gotta get inside the teepee,
Okay,
and
Mike.
my favorite place to be.
Yeah, there's Minga right here, Mike.
Minga, you're hiding on me, just like an Indian. How are you,
Hi,
sweetheart?
Mike. Good, and you?
Good. How you feeling?
Oh, doing good.
You're doing good.
Doing good.
This is Minga. She's the absolutely brains and brawn of the operation,
sure.
no matter what Al tells you. So, you look great. Thanks for getting all dressed up. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem.
I'm glad that you brought us up and let us come into your home today. It's important, and it's a nice place to be.
Welcome anytime.
And you made this,
Yes.
obviously. That was a stupid question.
I didn't only made it. It's a trade dress. Yeah, everything I got for the dress was in trade. The blue wool and the ribbons, the shells, everything.
Yeah.
Beads.
Good.
Yep.
And you're the one that makes all this.
We both do.
Yeah.
Al do some sewing, and I do too.
Yeah.
So that's how we do it.
Good.
Minga's the finisher.
Yes.
Put everything together, cut it all, and then Minga does the finishing.
Yeah.
So, it's a team.
You look terrific, sweetie.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're doing well.
Thank you.
Let's continue with the teepee.
Thanks, Al.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this looks great. Come on, Minga. My little Sue.
This is what is her name?
Yeah. This looks great, Al.
Good, I'm glad you like it.
God, it's nice and warm in here too. You know, I forgot how warm they get.
Oh, they're really comfortable.
God. Well, Al, this obviously is set up as authentic as you can get.
We try.
Tell us a little about the history of the teepee and.
Well, the teepee was designed for the people that had to follow the herds. These people weren't farmers, not after they acquired the horse. They had to follow the buffalo. So they had to have a house they could move. So they came up with the teepee, and it's perfect. It's easy to put up, easy to take down. As you can see, it's certainly easy to heat. A woman would put the teepee up because the teepee is feminine. Women own the teepee, own the house. So she could put this teepee up by herself in about 20 minutes. So she did it every 3 or 4 days. They moved continually to follow the great herds.
Right.
Find grass for their horses, firewood, fresh water. But in the winter, they would leave the open plains and head into the brush country to cut the wind. But they were always on the move. So we have to remember that being like that and a lifestyle like that, you never lived long enough to create filth. So therefore, there was no disease. All the communicable diseases that plague us came with us. It wasn't here. So I'm not Native American at all. My wife is. My wife is from Texas. She has some Comanche blood. So we teach. Our children don't know anything about our history. This is our history. So I play the mountain man, the fur trapper. And that's who I am. And those men intermarried. Their wives were Native. And that's the part we introduce, we play.
Yeah. Now you go to schools.
Oh yes.
And you'll do a demonstration for the students.
Yes, the schools come here also.
Yeah. What I found, Al, when I was living I stayed in a teepee for about a year, and it was, and Al and Minga actually built a teepee for me and put it up for me, and that's how I got to know these two wonderful people. But what is interesting is when I would bring the kids that were on campus, up playing soccer, into the teepee, it was amazing how much knowledge they had on that teepee. And I was astonished. I figured, kids, they probably didn't know anything about the Native Americans and their ways, but every time I asked them a question, they had the answer. So apparently they must have went to your class or your presentation.
Which is really sad that European kids know more about our history than our children do. And that's wrong. This is our history. It's the most fascinating history in the world.
Yeah.
And our children don't know anything about it.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
So that's really one of the reasons we do this. And we try to furnish the teepee as accurately as we possibly can. It has a double wall. All teepees had a double wall. This wall goes down, ties to the butt of each pole, and tucks under your floor about a foot. So you seal, so there's no cold air comes in, blows on you. There's no creepy crawlers, nothing bad. It has an outer door, has an inner door you pull across at night. But the outside of the teepee is off the ground about 1 inch or 2. So when you make a fire, the heat rising makes cold air come in under the wall, forced up between the two walls, goes out of the chimney, and pulls the smoke out.
And this was a design by the Native Americans.
Yes.
This is not something that you created, you and Minga created on your own.
This is it. And if you get up on a ladder and look down at the teepee isn't round because the teepee isn't a cone, it's a tilt. It's longer in the front, straighter in the back, so it creates an egg. By making that shape, it puts the chimney forward of center. So therefore, it put 3/4 of the poles in the chimney hole. So it closes better in a storm. If it was a true cone, you couldn't do that, and it wouldn't close as efficiently.
Now, I know that you and I have gone through this before, but for the audience, I want to just recap. How high of winds will this teepee withstand?
It'll take hurricane velocity winds. We've been out in winds how high, love? Really bad, really, and it's amazing. It frightens you. You be in a teepee, and it sounds like a truck coming.
Yeah.
And it hits the teepee, and the teepee it flex, and then it goes gone, and and that's past. And all of a sudden, you hear the next gust coming. You think, oh, that sounds worse than that one. And it hits, and it flexes, and back again. It's really amazing what this will take.
What I found was when I was up in the Adirondacks with this, up just outside of Fort Ann, horrendous thunderstorms, and you might get hit with a drop of water.
Yep.
Maybe a drop of water.
Yes.
And other than that, it was bone dry.
Yep. Well, it's so important for a woman. She made this. A woman made this completely. That made her very special. In this culture, she wasn't a second-class citizen. She was equal to her husband. And that doesn't exist in all the parts of the world. Many parts of the world, women are nothing. That's not right. The Native American is smarter than that. So his wife had as much power as he had. She owned the house. If you look at the top of the liner, okay, the liner is hung from a cord, and the cord goes around every pole so it doesn't slide down. Now, when it rains, water has to come in. Even if we close the top, it has to come in. It follows the poles. It follows the poles in little rivulets all the way down each pole on this side because of gravity. Now, that's why she had to make her poles as smooth as possible so the water didn't leave the poles and drip. So the water runs down the poles, and there's two sticks just above the liner underneath the cord. Now, those sticks keep the cord away from the pole so the water can pass under the cord, not touch it, run down and go out so there's no drips.
Right.
So that's really amazing. You think about that. These people were that intelligent. Everything has been worked out. Yeah. Long before we came along. It's just phenomenal. It's just amazing.
Now, you stated earlier that this teepee would be an authentic design for the 1800s.
Yes.
But prior to that, they would use buffalo hides. Why did they have to switch from buffalo hides to this type of material in the 1800s?
Because of us. Our ancestors decimated the herds. We destroyed them. There were tens of millions, and in one generation, they were gone. The hunters that overhunted, they just destroyed the herds totally for the hides, for their tongue, and everything rotted. With the Indian, when he kills, he eats everything. Nothing was wasted. Nothing. Everything was used on the beast. So that's when we came to this continent, it was alive with game, while the Indian was here for thousands and thousands of years, but he didn't decimate it. Mm-hmm. Remember Kevin Costner in one of his movies talking about the Native American. He's light on the land. We're heavy. So that's it right there.
Right.
So he lives with nature. He doesn't fight it or try to conquer it. He's part of it.
You and Minga manufactured this entire teepee. From the canvas that Minga sews to the poles. And what type of wood are these poles, Al?
They would have used everything. Out west they had lodgepole pine. I've had lodgepole shipped in because I want to see what it's like. It's like our tamarack or golden pine, the pine that the needles turn gold. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very heavy. Okay, and lodgepole is like that. It's a heavy pine. They preferred cedar if they could get it, but they couldn't always get cedar because that's the lightest. I like balsam. There's a lot of balsam up here. Further north you go, and we use balsam fir. And that's a good pole. It makes a good teepee. It's light when it's dry, easy to manageable to handle, travel with it, and so it's really a lot of fun. Yeah,
I notice out back you've got some poles that are already being skinned.
We're always working on poles.
Now, would the woman also do that too, Al?
Yes.
So you're kind of breaking tradition by helping Minga out, right?
As soon as we were on the reservations and times were changing, when she was putting up a teepee, if there was a man handy, she told him to give me a hand.
Yeah.
So that was it.
You know, when you talked about how quickly they go up.
Yes.
I was absolutely amazed. Now this is the 16-foot.
Yes.
And the one that I have is 19 foot, which is really too big.
Yes.
And you told me that.
Yes.
But I didn't listen. And I thought
everybody thinks bigger is better.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I went with the 19. But it was amazing how quickly you and Minga put that teepee up. It was like exactly 20 minutes. And we had a problem because I didn't listen. I put it on a platform.
It wasn't you, it was those people that made it for you. That was...
Absolutely. And I put it on, the best way to put this is on the ground.
Yes.
And I put it on like a 3-inch platform, overextended the poles, the outside poles to the outside to reach the ground. So I had a platform inside, which really was a huge mistake.
Yes.
So you had to really maneuver the poles around.
Yes.
But it still only took you probably 25 minutes to put that up, which just amazes me how you did that. Every pole goes in a certain direction.
Yes, there's a specific way to put the teepee up. Every tribe had a specific way to do their teepees. The Sioux, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, they use a tripod. The Crow, the Blackfoot, Mandans, they use a quadrupod. Well, the quadrupod slips. It's not as strong as a tripod. The tripod is better, so we like a tripod. So our teepees is a cross between Sioux and Cheyenne.
Okay.
for that reason. The
Okay.
Cheyenne liked the long extension on their smoke flaps, and a lot of different things, but they were pretty close.
Yeah. Now, why wasn't the teepee popular in this area?
Well, because these people were farmers. They didn't have to move. They stayed in one place and tended their gardens. They couldn't leave their gardens or the animals would come in and devour it.
Right.
So they had to be there. So the Indian out west didn't. He followed the great herds. Before the horse, of course, he did garden. But after the horse came with the Spanish, then his life changed completely. Then he became totally into the hunt, following the buffalo. So, and that lasted about 100 years, and then it was over.
So the Native Americans in this area would live in longhouses?
Yes.
And they were a permanent structure,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Talking about the ventilation in here, which there was a couple nights in when I was staying in the summer that during the day it was well into the 90s, and at night it was high 80s, high humidity. There was not one night when I stayed in that teepee that I didn't wake up with a cover over me because it got so cool because of the ventilation. It was like having central air. It was amazing. It was just absolutely amazing.
People don't believe us when we tell them about these things unless they actually experience it themselves. They think we're full of it. We're trying to sell teepees, and we're not. This is the finest, one of the finest structures on earth.
And I can vouch for that absolutely 100% because I wouldn't have believed it until I stayed in it. And another thing, I'm an avid cigar smoker, and I used to go at night. I'd have a cigar, and if somebody came in to visit me, you couldn't smell the fact that I was even smoking in there because the ventilation was so great. Now, a lot of things are happening now. I'm thinking back. Tell me about why you don't have to lock a teepee, because if anybody enters it, that's not welcome.
That didn't occur in their culture. Within their culture, within their tribe, those people, there was no theft. There was no murder, no rape. It was almost non-existent because after they were forced onto the reservations, people questioned these people, the old people. My wife's great-grandfather, who was full-blood, he lived to be 110. He was healthy. He wasn't an old man. He didn't die of old age. He had a hernia. Went to the hospital, had an operation, and he got up too soon to go back to work. It burst, and he bled to death.
Oh, jeez.
His last wife was in her 20s.
Oh.
I don't know how many. I don't remember how many wives he had gone through, but
yeah.
And he says his last child was 5. So I don't know what kind of stuff he was finding out in the prairies, but it was working.
I guess it was.
So,
now you also
100 was nothing, 90 was nothing, and they were very, very healthy. They ate right. They were active. These people today have so much trouble because they sit behind a desk or they don't exercise like they should, and that's what gives us all the problems. Okay, it's not what we eat. I don't think so much. It's we're not active enough like these people were.
Right. Now, another interesting point that you made to me was about someone who enters your teepee without permission. What happens, or what can happen?
Well, to be rude, it'd be, that'll be it. It wasn't done. We go to camps and we set up, and people come. People just open the door and walk in, and they think, wait a minute now, this is our home. What if I follow you home, and when you're in a house, I can just walk in your house at night, right?
Right.
And they look at you, oh no, well, this is our home. This is our home. This is their home. You didn't just walk into their home. If you wanted to come in, you'd cough or call out, or you would scratch on the door, and even on their door, they would have rattles, toes from the deer, the buffalo, and you'd shake those like you would have a door knocker, and they would tell you come in. And they had rules of etiquette, and just like we do, manners, and if they were all sitting in here, people came in, I came in late, I would try and go behind everyone to my seat. If I had to pass in front of everyone, I asked their pardon. Excuse me, I beg your pardon, because you cut the heat from the fire. That was considered impolite. They weren't the bloody savage. That's television. That's the stupid movies that we've been brought up on. It wasn't like that at all.
Al, tell us a little bit about what you have in the teepee, especially these chairs. These chairs are incredibly comfortable.
They're called backrests or lean backs or lazy backs, and those are, matter of fact, they're Crow or Blackfoot. So we mix whatever we like. That's what we use. We don't have to be exactly traditional. The Sioux and the Cheyenne, their chairs would have been a little different than that, but those are really so colorful and so nice. We have those. So we have buffalo robes on the floor. They would have had buffalo robes to stand on. We have trunks to put our clothing and possessions in. We have parfleches or suitcases that they would have stored things in and stored dried meat and such as that. We have saddles. We have pad saddles. We have a fly sweater made of buffalo tail. We have beaver. We have brain tan leather. We have saddlebags. We have buffalo's bladder for a drinking container to carry water. We have another buffalo's bladder for a berry pail because they pick berries and they use a buffalo's bladder to make a bucket or a pail. We have a buffalo horn that's hollow with a top on it to carry fire. They would have filled this with buffalo dung or dried pulpy wood and put a hot coal in there and closed it and would stay hot for hours. So they'd carry fire with them in a horn. And when they got to what they wanted to set up, they would always have some tinder in one of their bags, and they'd drop that hot coal in the tinder and blow, and they had fire.
Oh, wow. That's something I never knew. That's, yeah. Well, there's a lot of things I don't know, but...
Oh, we're all learning, always. I mean, that's what's fun about it. There's always something to learn. You never know it all. No, if somebody said they know it all, they don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, true.
Now, the design that you did, I know that Minga did this design.
Yeah, I pencil everything in and Minga would paint, okay?
Okay.
And we're Christian. We try to be Christian. So I have a cross in the center for Jesus, and I have 12 dots around the cross for the disciples who knocked from Christ and spread his word. And then we have the sun, where the native would worship. But he didn't, from what I've read, he didn't worship the sun. He thought that through the sun he could find God, because he called God the great mystery. He didn't call God the sun. Mm-hmm. That's a misunderstanding. You know, when we came to this country, all the missionaries, all the people from all the different sects, of the Catholics and the Baptists and the Mormons and the Lutherans and the Episcopalians, and the natives said, well, you worship many gods. I only worship one, because he misunderstood. Because everybody said, oh we're the way, we're the way. So he misunderstood that. Because of all the different religions that we have, he thought we worship many gods. So.
Interesting. Now every family would have their own design.
Yeah. Well, yes. The husband would, if this is not finished yet, this is really just the beginning. So what we have to do is do a mural, and we do a lot of horse raids. We don't do any blood and guts. He would have painted battle scenes that he was in. So he was bragging. So inside his liner, he would have beautiful murals of battles he was in, hunts he was in, or raids that he was in. But we deal with lots of little children, and there's enough bad publicity as it is, so we don't do any blood and guts. Nobody getting killed. So we do horse raids. So when this is finished, we'll have dozens of horses running around, and men riding horses, waving blankets, and chasing the horses. And it's neat because when you're in here, Mike, as you know, that stuff with the firelight, it flickers and it moves, and you swear it's alive, and the sun flickers, and you think, whoa. So it's really nice.
Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
But in history, the outside of teepee wasn't painted as much as people think. Okay, you painted your living space. This is your living space. Okay, as time goes on, if you buy a teepee from us, well, the cover will wear out before the liner does. So you simply replace the cover, and you still have your liner. So that's why you want to do all your artwork, put all that time into your liner.
Al, I want to thank you so much for bringing us, the viewers, and myself into your home. You know how special the teepee is to me, yes. And thanks to you, I've learned so much about it, and it's really become a part of my life.
Well, the only reason we did this and agreed to this is because you're our friend.
I appreciate that, Al.
Otherwise, we would not do this.
I know that, and I thank you so much. Buffalo Days. It's in Broad Alban, right on 29. They're two of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. Al is probably more knowledgeable about the Native American culture, and especially the teepee, than any research I have ever done. So if you're thinking about a guest house or just a place to go and chill, give Buffalo Days a call. Talk to Al and talk to Minga. Thanks for joining us. This is Adirondack Journey. Thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned. And for all you guys and gals out there in uniform that keep us safe, you be safe.